This is given about the year 2023. And I'm trying to bulk up because I'm a skinny hard gainer who couldn't gain a single pound on the scale. I struggled so much to even gain 1 ounce of a pound. 1 ounce, one tiny, tiny, tiny measurement of weight. It was so hard. It's just a skinny hard gainer where it would be so difficult to just have more weight and more weight and more weight and more weight. My mouth would just not allow the food to just enter my body. And it was a pretty hard time. And not to mention, everybody else telling me, hey bro, track your macros, track your macros, track your macros, and everything. So I fell into the myth. I start tracking my macros. I download MyFitnessPal, the most common tracking for macros. So I download it, and literally on the first and second day, I don't reach the calorie requirement. I don't reach the 3,000 calorie I was supposed to achieve. I probably only got around 2,500. By the end of the day, where it was 11:59 p.m. and I was gonna go to sleep, and it was too late because I got so anxious from all these people online telling me, "Hey, bro, check your macros, check your macros, check your macros. This is how you gain slash lose weight." And it didn't work for me clearly because I got too overwhelmed and too scared. And not to mention, my appetite was not allowing the food to just run into my mouth like all the other people around me who had literal pig appetites. Literal appetites of a pig and a boar. My appetite was super, super terrible. I learned why most people fail. Most people fail at this simplest thing because they get overwhelmed. And what do I mean by this? They track their macros, they start tracking their macros and macros and macros, getting super obsessed. Where they're trying to bulk up and they need to get 3,500 calories. They end up getting 2,500. They're too scared. They're way, way, way too scared to just eat. Because they know if they do, they're gonna have to track every single ounce, every single gram, every single pound of food that enters their system. And then it continues and continues and continues and spirals and spirals and spirals, and it gets worse and worse to the point where they quit. And now they can't bulk up to a healthier body weight. But then there's the other side. There's the other side for the people who try to lose weight. So they try a similar thing. They download the MyFitnessPal, they download the tracking app, whatever. They start tracking it, tracking it, tracking it, tracking, going crazy. And eventually after all, maybe but a few 2 weeks, they quit. They quit because they have a craving. They want more sugar, they want candy, of course. Candy is addictive. Sugar is addictive. So they want more and more and more and more and more of it. And then they quit. Literally from both sides of the area, or even in the middle of the area, in terms of being lean, being fat, being skinny fat, and being a hard gainer, everybody gets way too overwhelmed and they get kind of stuck in this box. This box literally just keeps them confined. It makes them stuck where they're at. Because whenever they try to make the change to try and escape the box, they encounter a barrier. The box. They run into the box, and boom, they're right set back to where they are. Or they try and go and break towards the box. And sure, slowly and slowly and slowly enough, they're actually starting to carve a hole through the box and start to escape. Really, really close to escaping. And then, what happens? Sugar. And all of the random artificial sweeteners that enters the food that they consume, and they bounce back. You see, because they make it so difficult on themselves that they can't keep it sustainable and attainable to the point where they just can't do it at all. They can't do it at all and they just give up completely and entirely in hopes that suddenly, out of magic, out of nowhere, they're just gonna find the random food or something that's just gonna help them. But it does not work like that. So the majority of people are probably gone by now. And all that remains are 3% of the people who clicked on this. So I will get straight to the point. Here's the literal step by step by step by step. Literally follow to a T. Don't change anything. So the plan is you want to set a goal. A goal to what way you want to get at. Whether you want to get heavier by 15 pounds, lose 10 pounds. Set a goal for how much weight you want to lose or gain, and in what amount of time period. In this time period, here's the thing. If you're trying to lose more than 10 pounds in 2 weeks, you probably will have some negative effects on your health. And with that being said, if you try and gain weight, 10 pounds within 2 weeks, then again, you might have some drastic health effects. So be very cautious with how much weight you're gaining or losing, because it goes both ways. Now, the second step is to adjust your calorie intake accordingly towards your goal. So if your goal is to get to 10 pounds by 3 weeks, which is probably a lot better and will probably be a lot more sustainable for you, you probably want to be aiming for somewhere about 3,500, 4,000 calories a day. Now hold on. I know this sounds like a lot, and that's because it is a lot of calories to consume, because the average male consumes roughly about 2,500 calories, but overall the average human consumes roughly about 2,600 calories. So granted, this is about a 1,400 calorie difference, a 400 calorie difference. So granted, it's of course a lot. So here's a few meals and recipes you could try out. So for the bulking and for all the skinny hard gainers and skinny fat people, you want to get about 40 to 50 tablespoons of olive oil. Olive oil, make sure it's extra virgin olive oil, because each teaspoon, no, scratch that. Because each tablespoon contains 120 calories. So just grab a tablespoon, measure it out a little bit. Or you can just grab the entire bottle, pour most of it. It's probably going to be roughly about 40, 50 tablespoons. And then what you want to do is you want to get some coconut sweetener. Now, the reason for the coconut sweetener is because olive oil by itself tastes horrible. If you have anything more than 3 or 4 tablespoons and you try chugging it, it tastes horrible. So that's the reason for the coconut sweetener. So you want to take some coconut sweetener, add some to it, maybe about a whole pouch, however much that is for the coconut sweetener. And then you want to have just a few tablespoons of honey into it just to make it taste better. And then just shake it in a bottle, maybe stir it or blend it. Either of the 3 ways. And that right there alone is a bunch of calories. Because the math is 120 calories per tablespoon. So if you have 40 or 50 of those tablespoons, you already have roughly about 4,185 calories. 4,185 calories from about 40, 50 tablespoons. Granted, it might vary on the amount of calories that the olive oil has, but generally speaking, it's probably going to be somewhere around 4,200, 4,300 calories, just alone with the olive oil. And then because you added the honey, which is probably somewhere around 70 to 80 calories per tablespoon, if you've had three or four, that's already somewhere around 210 to 230 calories. So if you add that, that's already like 4,500 calories. That's a ton of calories, and plus, you're only consuming it through liquid. It doesn't make you feel that full. Granted, you might feel sluggish, you might have brain fog or everything, but it's through liquid. It's through the liquid, and you won't have that full feeling that you have from eating from food. And this is why liquid calories are so good for hard gainers and skinny fat people. So because it tastes pretty nice, you could just chug it all. And then another bulking meal would just be getting a jar of peanut butter or walnut butter, preferably walnut butter because there's no hydrogenated oils and any of that processed stuff. You want to get a piece of sourdough bread. Sourdough bread. You want to cook it with ghee or butter. And then after it's done cooking, you want to apply some walnut butter ideally, or peanut butter, it'll work too. You just want to spread some peanut butter or walnut butter, whatever butter you're using. You just want to spread it all over on. And then you want to add some jam. Any kind of jam. Any kind. It doesn't matter if it's fig jam, blueberry jam, strawberry jam, whatever it may be. Just some random jam in a glass jar. Take it out, spread it all over the bread. And then you want to take honey. You want to apply a couple of drizzles on both slices. And then you want to add maybe 2 dashes of cinnamon on both. And that alone, although it doesn't seem like that much in terms of quantity, it has literally helped me gain so much weight over the past time. Screw that. Although it doesn't seem like that much of a quantity, I've tried this out myself, and I've noticed some weight gains, so try this out for yourself. Now, in terms of the people who are trying to calorie deficit, trying to get lean, trying to cut down their calories and lose weight, you will probably feel a lot less energetic because you're consuming less and less and less and less and less and less calories. Hence, you'll have lower and lower and lower and lower energy. Most likely, that's probably what's going to happen. Unless you're consuming a ton, and I mean a ton of meat, a ton of steak, a ton of eggs, a ton of chicken. Unless you're doing and eating those three things, you're probably going to feel sluggish on a cut. So, a cutting meal would be blueberries. Literal blueberries, they're low calorie. There's also white potatoes. It doesn't matter how many white potatoes you eat because overall they're very, very, very low calorie dense. You cannot get fat from eating a bunch of white potatoes. They're literally the lowest calorie dense food you could probably consume. Maybe there's even lower and lower and lower foods, but seriously, you cannot get fat from just eating white potatoes and white potatoes and white potatoes. You would not get fat. And then again, another meal for cutting would be steak. Now here's the thing, when you consume steak or when you consume any type of animal meat, you feel a lot more clear-minded. Your mind doesn't feel as full as when you consume and shove a bunch of fats and carbs in your mouth. When you eat more meat, you start to feel very sharp. Your mind becomes sharp. You feel like a hawk. And you can do all your homework and everything. eating just a bunch of steak. You'll feel really quick. You'll feel really full really quick. And this will starve your appetite off and stave it off. So overall, cutting is going to be way easier. So adjust your calorie intake accordingly. Try out these meals. See how it works out for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Other than that, welcome to the Brotherhood.